All right. Hello, home office team. We are here to share with you some updates since we'll be doing some miniature golfing as a team builder in about a week or two. We wanted to take some time to update you on the budget as well as site planning and the strategic plan. And we're really looking forward to playing some miniature golf with you. Just full disclosure, this is my skill level at miniature golf. And so come prepared to beat me. All right, I'm going to hand it off to Cinder, and he is going to share some updates on the budget.
Hey, thanks, Larissa. So as Larissa mentioned, we just want to keep you updated and informed regarding the budget. At this time of year, we receive the latest information from the state. And at the home office level, we update all site budgets as needed. Sites then complete their work on budgets, and then we bring those to the board for final approval in early June. So budgeting wise, everything for next year, for FY24, really gets wrapped up in the next couple of weeks. So I want to provide a high level summary, and I'll kind of reiterate a little bit of what I just said. So in mid-May, the governor released what is called the May Revise, and I'll share some of those budget details on the next slide. But one important note is that this isn't yet the final state budget. The legislature typically passes the final budget later in June, and we don't get those details until summertime in the July-August timeframe. However, we are required to pass our budgets in mid-June. And so the May Revise is the final state information that we have to work with. So at this point in time, the overall May Revise, it did align with our expectations and our assumptions from when we built our initial budgets and did our scenario analyses. So right now, we feel comfortable saying that all sites are positioned to submit balanced budgets for board approval in June. And you may recall from our presentation back in late February that this was a challenging budget year for most sites, based on enrollment reductions, based on reductions in federal stimulus dollars. So there were tough decisions that had to be made, and sites definitely worked through all of that with their stakeholders as part of the site planning process. And at the home office level, again, back when we presented to you in February, we talked about and received feedback on where to invest potential additional resources. And the decision that we've come to is to invest in alignment with the strategic plan, which we shared detail on with you all in our last meeting, and also speak a little bit more to that in a later slide. So in terms of the May Revise, the bottom line is that the state is proposing to invest in FY24 so that there is budget stability for next year. But the caveat there is that there is now less funds and a bit more uncertainty in future years. But for next year, the COLA, or cost of living increase, is 8.2%. And this is similar to what it was when the budget was first proposed in January. You might recall that the COLA primarily applies to the portion of our budget known as the LCFF, the Local Control Funding Formula, which is about 75% of our overall budget. And note that in typical years, the COLA is close to 2 or 3%, but it is significantly higher for next year because of inflation. And as reference, the state is maintaining the COLA at this high level for FY24, but in exchange for reducing one-time revenue in future years. So we really just want to plant that seed now, that we are expecting FY25 to be a more challenging budget year due to the continued projected deficits that the state is managing, as well as due to this reduction in future year funding. In terms of next year, so some specific budget highlights, especially related to the home office, include, number one, we increase compensation across all roles, with the increase in total compensation, which is salary plus benefits, aligned to that 8% COLA. Right? And this is true for compensation increases across EFC. Number two, home office will continue seeking to invest in additional fundraising support. In this year, FY23, it was our goal to hire a position to support those efforts, but that did not happen. Next year, we are likely looking for external support, such as contacting a grant writer. And then number three, in terms of additional investment, as I previously mentioned, we are focusing on alignment with the strategic plan. Larissa will be providing more detail on the strategic plan in the next slides, but you may recall from previous conversations that one of our priorities focuses on instruction and another on culture, as you can see on the slide. And what the specific investments look like, whether that would be a position or consulting support or professional development for our staff, that is all still being decided. And we will definitely report back to you as we continue to finalize and work on implementation of the strategic plan. And so that is it in terms of budget updates, and I will now turn it over to Larissa.
All right, thank you, Sundar. So now that you've heard an overview of the budget picture for next year, I want to share with you some key updates regarding our strategic planning process. And prior to going into details, I just want to reground us in our vision, because our 5-year strategic plan and our 1-year strategic plan are both in service of disrupting predictable outcomes. They're in service of our students achieving mastery, in service of our students developing a healthy identity and a sense of agency. And it's important that we always keep that long-term vision at the forefront so that we can course correct as needed in real time to ensure that we're on the path to realizing this vision. Our strategic plan is going to be a living document that's revised and updated annually based on student outcomes data and community feedback. And for the next 5 years, our annual site plans will align with this new strategic plan. As I share our updates, you're going to hear frequent references to the Strategic Planning Steering Committee. And since it's been a while since the State of the Org sessions, I wanted to briefly remind everybody that this is the committee. It's a super thoughtful, committed group of org and site leaders who have put in an immense amount of effort into developing a responsive, proactive, and very strategic plan. So let's take stock of where we're currently at in our strat plan journey. We launched phases 1 and 2 back in January with the survey, classroom observations, focus groups, and interviews, and that produced the detailed diagnostic report, which the steering committee used to create a set of priorities and initiatives. You may recall that in April, we conducted State of the Org sessions at each site, including home office, to share a draft of these priorities and initiatives, engage in discussions, and then collect response data. And Attuned, our partners, conducted additional focus group feedback on the draft plan. And then in early May, the steering committee refined the priorities and initiatives in response to that feedback we received in April and started sequencing what would happen next year. So here you can see what that looks like. For each initiative, we started thinking about a logical build out over 5 years so that we wouldn't be trying to take on everything at once. In addition, in response to questions we received during the State of the Org sessions, we also clarified exactly which challenges each priority is intended to address so that we can explain that clearly during the August launch and beyond. For example, we received some queries about how teacher retention and feelings of burnout are being addressed. The curriculum adoption initiatives in Priority 2 are intended not only to address gaps in student outcomes and experiences, but also to address teacher burnout by reducing the amount of materials they need to create or revise. In other words, reducing the amount of time spent reinventing the wheel. And with Priority 3, our theory of action is that when we increase the sense of belonging felt by students and staff, that will contribute to lower rates of burnout and greater feelings of being heard and seen. I encourage you to read this slide in more detail after this presentation so that you can understand the intent behind each initiative. We're also happy to answer any questions you have during office hours. You'll be receiving an invite for that. An additional step that we took in May was to get more granular in our planning by creating a set of deliverables or major action steps to take over the next 5 years. As we developed and sequenced these deliverables or major action steps, we kept 7 important guiding principles in mind. These principles are anchored in our core EFC values and reflect this year's learnings about the liberatory design process. For example, you can see the value of inclusive showing up in principles like number 1, engaging and empathizing with the community. Our deliverables include establishing multi-stakeholder working groups to plan together how to address complex challenges like increasing the sense of student belonging. And here's another example. You see the value of learners showing up in principles like number 5, prototype through piloting. We know that when we create opportunities to prototype and engage in continual inquiry cycles, we grow in our knowledge and understanding, and ultimately we'll develop more effective solutions to address the challenges. We also kept in mind that less is more, and that we want to set our principles up to be successful in leading implementation at the school level. So in our most recent meetings, we prioritized, and we moved a number of the action steps out of year 1 into year 2 and beyond. We also identified what we would do differently next year and what we won't do anymore. And as I said earlier, this is going to be a living plan, so we'll continually reassess and adjust so that we can support everyone's success. So what's next? Well, we still have final revisions to make to the site plan. Our steering committee had its last meeting last week, and so we are preparing to get the strategic plan ready for board approval in June. Alongside that, we're also going to finish home office site planning to ensure that the home office site plan is well aligned to the strategic plan. And then we're going to start planning for a July launch, as well as an August launch with the rest of the staff coming back in the first week of August. So we're excited to kick this off. We'll be back to you with more updates after we finalize the plan and it's been board approved. And as I said earlier, I will send you an invite for office hours so that you can ask us any questions that you have about the budget or the strategic plan or the site plan. All right, have a great day, home office team. Bye-bye.